Geoff Montgomery here from Accurate Rifles and Restorations. Today we've got a Springfield 1903, 03A3 as it's sometimes referred to. One of my good customers brought me this, grandpa's old gun. Basically it doesn't shoot worth a crap and he wants us to go through it, rebarrel it, refinish it, do what we can to make it an accurate rifle again. These are really good actions. They were made in the early 1900s. They're still around. You can find them all over the place. They made millions of them. It's basically a 30-06 true to form in the cartridge that it shoots, and he wants to keep it that way. I told him he had some options. He could change the cartridge if he wants to, but he wants to keep it traditional, which is cool. Kind of a neat stock here. It's got some scallop checkering in it. With some fleur-de-lis or leaf patterns in it. The serial number is within the safe range. There is a range of these that were improperly heat treated at the factory in the time of the making, and it's pretty brittle, so it's very unsafe to shoot them. But this is in a range where it's well above that era, so at least by the serial number, we know this is a good action, and it's been shot hundreds, probably thousands of times since wartime, since it's been in battle. So it's basically just a great hunting platform. Like I said, it's not certainly not lightweight by any means, but that's no issue for my guy. So yeah, like I said, it's going to be rebarreled. We're going to do some work on the stock. I think this is fake, but that's fake ivory. I'll check it out when we get the sanding on it and stuff. We'll be able to tell. But butt pad is extremely seen better days there. That's rotten to the core there. So we'll be replacing that. It's hard too. It's funny how that happens to rubber over the years. I know this is obviously not the original stock. And another issue here is the floor plate just pops out whenever it wants. So I believe that's something to do with the latch there. It may be just a matter of getting a new surplus part and replacing it, but we'll investigate that. So I'll just go ahead and break this down real quick, see what we got to work with, and see if we can get the barrel off. So a little bit about the action. Generally a typical bolt action. You've got a 3-position magazine feed. So we got off, and then I'll spin this around. No. Oh, or on. And then a middle position. Off means the magazine is cut off. For whatever reason, in wartime, in that era, they wanted a system to cut off, so like maybe more of a single shot. So you could have a full magazine. I believe this holds 5 rounds. Don't hold me to that. It's been a while since I've worked on one of these, but whatever the case is, however many it holds, if a guy wanted to keep the magazine full in the heat of battle and just kind of drop them in single shot, and then say he's got to leave his position and run into battle or some crazy stuff like that, he could turn this switch to on, which enables the bolt to come back far enough. Once again, off. So the back of the cartridge would sit here, and it would not allow that to pick it up. In the on position, the bolt comes far enough back where the cartridges will be picked up and fed into the chamber as normal. So kind of a unique feature there. In the heat of battle, I'm not sure what kind of guy would actually remember that, but it's there if he needs it. Now, the third setting, so we've got off, on, and then this middle detent. The middle detent allows you to bring the bolt and take it out. So that just releases this mechanism inside. Another cool feature of this, again, back here, it has a passive ejector. So there's just a blade in there that goes in the bolt, that little notch on the side. So as the bolt comes back, can you see that piece? That piece swings forward, and it swings away as the bolt closes. There's no springs involved. There's nothing else other than just leverage. So that little piece, as the cartridge comes back in the bolt face, that little piece kicks it out the side. So very reliable ejection system. And obviously we've got the large Mauser style claw extractor. Very dependable design. That'll rip any cartridge out that's stuck. And there's also a camming action. So as the bolt opens, it forces it back rearward. So that is your primary extraction. And then you pull back for the full extraction, and then it'll kick out the cartridge. All right, some features other than the 3-position magazine control is also a 3-position safety. So on, will not fire, and the bolt is locked closed. Middle position, will not fire, but we can open the bolt, such as unloading your magazine if you need to in a hurry. So a guy could just cycle the action and all the rounds would pop out without any fear of it discharging. And then, of course, on, or safety off, as it were, it will fire. This is known as a cock-on open. So, as it's fired, the firing pin is actually cocked when you literally open the bolt, as opposed to a cock-on close design, which you'll see in like Enfield's and several other bolt-action rifles from the time. One advantage to the cock-on open is it's already cocked, so it's easy to shut real quick. There's not as much resistance as you would have on a cock-on close design. Again, a kind of a benefit for wartime, just expediency of cycling the action. There is what is known as a cone breech system. We won't see that until I get the barrel off. But basically that's a breech system that accommodates the angle here. It's usually about 45-degree angle on the bolt nose itself. And then there's going to be a large cut in the breech for this extractor to fit in there as well. Again, we'll show you that when we get the barrel off. The bolt handle itself is designed in such a way that it will clear any optics that you have on the top. Originally, they were not supplied with optics, but it was a foresight that they actually developed or designed to accommodate that. I'm not sure if they knew that at the time or not, but unlike a Mauser, you don't have to change the bolt angle to get an optic on here. And the guy's already got provisions. There's drilled and tapped holes here on the top and the rear for a scope mount. Side by side, kind of a different way of doing it. Again, this was sporterized way back in the probably 50s or 60s. Classic blued finish. We're going to re-blue this. It's in good shape now, but might as well just re-blue it because the barrel obviously need to be blued as well. Okay, so that's that. To disassemble the bolt, very simple. One would put safety on the first position, the vertical position, pull the bolt out, and then there's a very small spring-loaded detent here, which allows the firing pin assembly to be unscrewed from the bolt body, such as this. So very easy to clean in the field, no tools required. As long as you don't flip that safety off or on, you'll be good to go to put it back in. The extractor itself is going to be very easily removed by turning it past its little notch in the head and then pushing forward. And that releases it from its collar. Spring-loaded collar that fits into a groove inside the extractor there and just holds it in place. And that when that's actually in the bolt, it will never come out because it's riding in that groove. So that's how you get that extractor out. You never want to take this actual collar off because it's, like I said, it's spring steel. So if you bend it to get it off, it usually doesn't go back on right, or you run the risk of breaking it basically. So that's we're just going to leave that on. So that's the rest of the bolt body. That's all there is to it. Extractor, and then the firing pin assembly. We can take this apart at a later date, but it's also fairly simple to get apart. I do need some things to hold the spring back and all that, so I'm not going to do that on camera right now. Okay, so to continue here, we'll go ahead and take the stock off, which is a traditional floor plate style. This is a little bit before the time of a VDL, and this floor plate is not really designed to come off unless you jam a bullet tip or something in there. You could use your firing pin tip. But the way this is supposed to work is you jam something in there, and that releases this whole plate. Of course, it won't come out now. There it goes. And then you've got your traditional 2 screws for the action. I'm going to grab my screwdriver. And just like common bolt actions these days, you just got the fore and aft screw holding them in. And then the stock should come right off. So no bedding whatsoever in there. We're actually going to pillar bed this stock and clean up some of that inside. And then this floor plate should come right out. So the trigger and the sear assembly are held in right here by this pin. By that pin. Here is your sear spring, combination sear spring and trigger return spring. So very simple design on the trigger. There's really nothing to adjust. All that does is when it's in the rifle, the cocking piece of the firing pin assembly would activate there on that notch. And then as one would pull the trigger, that rotates down, releasing that cocking piece, throwing the firing pin forward, detonating the cartridge. So bare bones, super simple, dead simple design on that. Trigger's actually not too bad feeling. Since it's such a simple design, there's really not a lot in the way of interference or anything. So nice crisp trigger pull. It's a 2-stage kind of feel. So you come back until you feel it kind of resist, get on target, and then pull away. The bolt stop assembly is held in by a rod in here. Usually you can pull it out with a fingernail or a screwdriver tip. Just like that. And then this lever comes out. Oops. There is a spring detent in there. Spring detent, which actually rides right here. And if you see closely, there's a little notch here, here, and here. So as you rotate that lever, it'll stop here for your 3 positions. Then the extractor itself is held in by another pin right here, which deceptively is a slotted, which appears to be a screw. So I've seen this a lot. Guys will come down in the bottom and take a screwdriver and just start unscrewing and screwing and screwing. The screw doesn't move. And they're like, oh crap, is this stripped or what the heck's going on? Well, it's not really a screw. That head is only just there for you to actually get it in and kind of align it into the corresponding top hole. So don't be defied by that. If you're ever working on one of these, they just punch right out towards the bottom. And obviously when it's in the stock, that's not going to back out or nothing. So that's the action itself. That's all stripped down. So we'll go over, put this in some V blocks and see if we could kick this receiver loose. Okay, so we had to resort to plan C for barrel removal. Basically that's taking a parting tool of some sort. So something like this, a parting tool, and then I've got a point ground into it, so it just helps cut. And then right here, I've done a relief groove. And basically we're just cutting right in front of the action face to relieve the stress that, since it's torqued on so tightly, basically just relieves all that pressure. And normally you can get it off. So I've got my action wrench back in. The lathe is emergency stops on, and so I'm just going to hold the brake down to keep the chuck steady and give it a good yark. And if it doesn't come off this way, the only other step is like milling flats on it and getting a huge wrench out. So hopefully this works. Yep, there we go. That's loose. All right. So I'll get the wrench out and the barrel out, and we'll look at the breech end real quick. Definitely tight fit on these threads. Oof. I wonder how old all this nasty stuff is in there. But so there's that. And then we have the existing barrel, so we can take some measurements off of that. Just to verify, I obviously will measure the action proper. Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure this is not the original barrel, but there's certainly no markings on it or anything. So whatever the case, it's off. We can go ahead and proceed with probably do some truing cuts on the face of that, get that all cleaned up a little bit. The lug contact looks pretty good, so probably won't have to. I'll do some lapping, but won't take much. Okay, here's that cone breech. Close up of that. And the relief cut I had to make to get that barrel off. Okay, so this is what's called square threads. You don't see this at all anymore. This was common for the old Springfields and Rock Island Arsenal. Enfields are square. There's probably a few others I'm not thinking of, but very inferior thread style. It works, but it's just very crude. So basically, let's see if I can get close here. So that's a literally square thread. There's no V groove like in a 60-degree thread. Sorry, it's not focusing super great. But 10 threads per inch. In a nutshell, 1 divided by 10 is 0.1, which is 100 thousandths. With a thread, square thread, you're going to divide that in half and add a thousandth or two. So the width of the threads are usually about 51 thousandths, and the in between 51 to 52, something like that. So that means we got to grind our own tool to cut this. I had one previously from school. They still in the days where they taught you how to hand grind your own high-speed steel cutters. I had one, again, just like all the other little nicks and knacks that just disappeared in the process of moving. They're gone. So I guess I'll get to show you how I grind a new high-speed steel square threading tool. So that'll be probably the next step in this video. And the little cut here you're seeing, or a rather large cut, that is the extractor cut that I was referring to earlier. Yes, it's very large. The cartridge sits pretty far down in this cone. So, you know, you have a little bit of a bulge, kind of like a Glock unsupported case right there. So it's just a slight bulge. I mean, it's nothing severe or dangerous or anything. You even still hand load for it. But that's the barrel. I just thought I'd real quick give you a close up of that, what it looks like. So stay tuned. We will. We said I got to grind that tool and then make a mandrel to hold the action in order to accurize a few surfaces on that. So you'll see the tool in use, the threading tool. For the mandrel, I got to make a custom mandrel. Had one at the old shop. I didn't own that one. That was the owner's. I made it, but it was his material and his time, so I didn't take that with me. So time to make a new one. No big deal. It's a fairly simple process. I could even make it out of this barrel if I wanted to, but you'll see all that in a little bit. So I think this will wrap up part one. Part two will show the grinding of the tool and the creation of the mandrel, and then the facing off the receiver and stuff like that. So we'll see you in a little bit.